Hello, my name is Sam and this is the Midweek Thought for St Matthew's. I've spent the last few months working on a project about Nazareth, Jesus' hometown. Nowadays that's one of the largest cities in Palestine, but back in Jesus' day it was this sleepy, out-of-the-way town. It was pretty forgettable. It's hidden up in a bowl on the Nazareth Ridge and off the major trade routes. It's away from passers-by, and the 400 or so people who lived there were predominantly Jewish, quite different to the neighbouring towns, which are much more kind of mixture of Jews and non-Jews. And they even farmed up on the mountainside, where the soil was unusually fertile. It was fed by underground streams as well, so they didn't need to rely on trade to survive, and they basically became this really insular community. And into this closed community comes Jesus. He's 2 or 3 years old when his parents returned there from Egypt. And this is where he would stay for most of his life. He would learn to be a tradesman like his dad. He would live a normal, unnoticed life for over 25 years. He had no celebrity status, no great wealth. He was simply known as Jesus, Joseph's son. When he would finally begin his ministry at 30 years old, he moved to Capernaum. That's the largest city in Galilee. It's 25 miles northeast to the top of the lake. As he ministered there, he gathered disciples, one of whom, a guy called Nathanael, hears of Jesus. And John 1:46 records him saying, "Nazareth, can anything good come from there?" Now on its own, that seems like an insult. We know that Jesus would be insulted for being a northerner later in his life when he ministered in Judea. But that's not what's happening here. In just the next verse, we read that Jesus describes Nathanael as a man in whom there is no deceit. He's an honest, good man. He's not someone who would judge simply for where someone would come from. Nathanael grew up in a place called Cana. It's a village a little bit bigger than Nazareth. It's at the base of the ridge north of Nazareth, just across the valley from Sepphoris, a large Roman city, the former capital of Galilee. Just 8 miles north of Nazareth, Cana is a village where Jesus turned water into wine at a wedding banquet. And Nathanael grew up there. Now, Nathanael's not being rude. He's in shock. Nazareth was just so normal, so ordinary, not an exciting city, not anywhere of importance like Jerusalem or even Capernaum or Sepphoris. But Nazareth, how can the Christ, the Messiah, come from there? It's just so normal. He was in shock because he grew up just 8 miles north of there, and just in this small village. Supposedly there's a man who is going to change the world. This is a man who will leave everything to follow. A man he will come to realise is the most important person to have ever lived. How could Jesus spend so long somewhere so ordinary? What was he even doing there? It's in this verse that we realise that Jesus' importance isn't his celebrity status. It's not how he impressed people. It's not even how he preached to crowds of over 5,000, probably up to 12,000 people. What Jesus valued was the people right in front of him. Whether that was one person or the whole world, he cared really deeply for individuals. And he learnt that growing up in Nazareth. And so for us, some of us will have the opportunity to speak to large crowds. Some will even have great influence, but most of us will have the people in front of us to minister to. And if that was good enough for Jesus, that should be good enough for us. I want to leave you with this poem that I found whilst doing my research. It says this. It says, "When I am tempted to repine, that such a lowly lot is mine, there comes a voice which saith, mine were the streets of Nazareth. So mean, so common and confined, and he the monarch of mankind. Yet patiently he travelleth those narrow streets of Nazareth. It may be I shall never rise to place or fame beneath the skies, but walk in straitened ways till death, narrow streets of Nazareth. But if through honour's arch I tread, and there forget to bend my head, let me hear the voice which saith, mine were the streets of Nazareth. Thanks for listening.